orange Ferrari. And green flag flies, we're racing. The Acura gets a great start from behind. 3 wide up the inside. Closing in on him here through turn number 2. Big slide on corner entry.
Years, that's a big aggressive dive up the inside there from the Lamborghini. Some bragging rights here, I think, between the two. Look at that slide up ahead from Simpson. That thing was totally sideways, but he was able to catch it.
Race lead. Fantastic stuff here in the F Cup. Big chop by the 777 car off the nose of that. Saw the corner, didn't have overlap, and went right to the apex. Checkered flag, and Adam Youngblood will win the AM race in the CrowdStrike Cup Virtual Racing League and pick up a checkered flag, a wet one here at the Huntsville Range. Jimmy Morgan. Suzuka Circuit has long been one of the premier international road racing facilities. It twists and winds through Japanese countryside and even sports an overpass. It's got a little bit of everything, but it's known for high speeds and high downforce, and today plays host to the CrowdStrike Virtual Racing League round number 3. Championship leaders have emerged in both the Pro and AM categories and will play defense to those behind in a 40-minute race. Kyle Heyer and DJ Clark with you. DJ, CrowdStrike friends and family have come together to race this offseason, but with the SRO America Series kicking off in just a few months' time, it's good to remind people how CrowdStrike and Fanatec GT World Challenge America work together on and off the track.
Well, it is indeed good to remind them that CrowdStrike returns as the official cybersecurity partner for SRO Motorsports Group. CrowdStrike is a leading cybersecurity technology company in cloud-delivered endpoint protection. Leveraging artificial intelligence, the CrowdStrike Falcon platform offers instant visibility and protection across the enterprise and prevents attacks on endpoint on or off the network. And we are so glad to have them on board in this amazing 2023 season.
And excited to be back for the 3rd round of this esports championship here in Assetto Corsa Competizione. Again, I'm Kyle Heyer with DJ Clark. It was sunny earlier today, but now it is clouded over and it's becoming dark. It's a little bit later here in the afternoon as we get set for qualifying here. 17 minutes remain in this qualifying session to set our grid for this multi-class and 40-minute event. Multi-class meaning we've got 2 different driver categories, DJ. The red number boards, those are your AM class competitors. The white number boards are your pro class competitors, and fierce championship fights in both.
Yes, indeed. Very, very fierce fights up and down the order for both. In the pro category, though, it is going to be Josh Staffen leading the way over the rest of the field, and then Vlad Dola is going to be the car to watch out for in that AM category as he has the lead in that class as well. There you can see Vlad on the screen as he makes his way out of the Degners and down into the world-famous hairpin here at Suzuka.
In that black, red, and white BMW M4 GT3, a new car to GT competition last season, but in Fanatec GT World Challenge America, powered by AWS and globally as well. So Vlad right now 4th here in qualifying. No times yet set on the screen. There is other drivers to keep our eyes on tonight, but Josh Staffen, as you mentioned, in the pro category is the one to watch. Keep an eye on Bill Clark as well. He'll be one to watch, but a big field here today, DJ. 23 cars, a handful of which are the pro class and the rest of which are the AMs. It's going to be busy out there, and Suzuka is not necessarily known for being all that wide. It can get narrow at points, especially in the first sector, as we take a quick look here at our track map.
Yeah, as we take a look at this overhead, really your primary overtaking opportunity is going to be coming down into turn 1 through the first corner there, and a little bit atypical around the outside is the way to go. From there on out, it's going to be a lot of follow the leader up through the snake and through up until about you get to Dunlop, which is turn 7. Then we come into 2 of the more tricky corners on the circuit, the Degners, 8 and 9. A very, very tricky run where you've got to get things absolutely pixel perfect, otherwise you're going to find yourself out into the grass. Then we head down into the hairpin at turn 11. As I said, you may be able to get a pass on there if you're a little bit aggressive, but look for that mainly being a way to just set yourself up on the run here, coming up the hill into Spoon Curve, a very, very tricky corner, some tricky cambering there, and then the run down the hill into turn 15, which is one of the most famous corners in the world, 130R, absolutely flat out, takes a lot of commitment to get right, and then down into another good overtaking opportunity, which which will be the Casio Triangle, those last little bit of chicanes.
Yeah, it's a really fun chicane there. You bounce over the curbs. You can be very aggressive on entry. You're typically out to driver's right entering that section because you just came through 130R at extremely high speeds, usually 5th gear at the very least. So it's a fun racetrack. It is very high speed, but it takes a while to get around. At the top of the board right now, Josh Staffen ran a 2-minute .132, and we'll ride on board here with his Acura NSX GT3. Behind an Audi here to the inside. This is heading up towards that 130R, and the speeds just keep climbing, and just nibble the curb on the inside, and the little whitey goes on the exit. You have to be careful there not to step outside of track limits.
Yeah, and really and truly there, that was that runoff wide was precipitated by the fact that he came into the corner just a little bit too narrowly, and that threw him off there a little bit. So Staffen luckily able to recover it, not having too much of a problem there, although I'm not sure if that lap is going to count for him. We've seen plenty of drivers get aggressive down into 130R, but really and truly, once you get to the actual apex of the corner, if you're too wide, you're in big trouble.
Here's the guy that's chasing him on the racetrack end in the championship. It's Bill Clark with the Clark Racing Audi, the pink and blue car. Easy to spot. Just got eclipsed for second place, though, by this guy in the Ferrari 488 GT3. That car is being replaced this season, very excitingly, by the, I think it's the 296 GTB car that's coming in this season. So Ferrari's got a new nameplate on for this season. Bakunin running the very swoopy-looking 488 and running second right now, just about 4/10 behind Josh Staffen. Oh, actually, I'm sorry, that was 1 second and 4/10.
And yes, you were right there. The 296 is the car that's going to be coming in, and I would argue it's actually more of a swoopy car than the 488. So we'll have to see how that does. When that obviously gets into ACC, we will let you know. Kunin doing a good job there through the Degners. As I said, you want to try to keep as much speed as possible through there. A little bit wide on the exit of the second Degner, but he's able to keep it underneath him there as they go. A lot of sparks getting kicked up by a couple of cars in front of him, and somebody run wide through the hairpin.
Yeah, another one of the BMW M4 GT3s, not Vlad Dola, I don't believe. Another car that has a similar looking livery. Kunin accelerating up, and nobody even getting close to Staffen here, but they didn't get a whole lot of chances. Most drivers are only on their third lap in this qualifying session. Again, because the laps are so long, you don't get that many opportunities. So if you make a mistake or you're just not comfortable, it's going to take you a while to move up the order. A couple new drivers this time around. Aaron Puckett in this gorgeous looking Aston Martin Vantage AMR GT3. He's currently 4th and could be a factor in this race with how close he is to Clark and others.
Yeah, certainly could be, and I have to agree with you. That is a gorgeous-looking livery on that Aston Martin, the number 31 now. He's going to try to do here what Josh Staffen did not too long ago. Look down to the inside of 130R. Going to have a narrow entry. Going to kick him out a little bit wide, but able to keep everything on the throttle there, and that'll keep him going the right way. And now he'll dive down to the Casio Triangle and be able to finish out this lap pretty easy.
Did a pretty good job there, despite the shallower entry. He was able to move back online just a little bit. But see if he comes across the line. Does go a little quicker at 2:01.717, but stays 4th. He's just 5 thousandths behind Bill Clark, and not too far behind him is Rasmus Larsson in the 478 BMW. That car looks very familiar, the ST Racing livery that we see in Fanatec GT World Challenge America, powered by AWS, represented here in ACC.
Yeah, represented here, the Samantha Tan Racing Machine, one of my favorite liveries on the grid, and we got to have a good up-close and personal look at that at the 8 Hours of Indianapolis, as their pit stall was actually right in front of our commentary booth. But a beautiful, beautiful car, and Rasmus doing a good job here, up in 5th place overall and leading that AM category. I'd say that's a pretty good day here for that 478 BMW.
Yeah, that's critical. There's a lot of new drivers that are kind of up in the mix. Vlad Dola, who's your championship leader in the AM category, is 3rd right now in qualifying. There he is in the number 5, bouncing through the Degner curves. But Daniel Kavanaugh, another new name, another ST Racing livery. I'm not sure if there's a coincidence there, but wow, look, 3rd overall that time through a 2-minute .887 puts him P3 overall.
Oh, the Irish driver putting in a fantastic time there to bump his way up through the charts. As there you see Kavanaugh having to slow down a little bit courtesy of a car coming out of the pits in front of him, but I'm sure that'll be no mind to the number 94 as they'll be able to get themselves back into good position. And with still about 10 minutes left to go here in qualifying, you can sacrifice one lap, make sure the tires are in the operating window, and give this another big blast at the end of this lap.
Yeah, still some time left to go here, and as the night continues, we might even see the track temperature fall just a little bit. We anticipate the temperature to cool off just a touch. Here's a good look at Alexandru Turtan in the number 88, the Lexus machine. We don't see a lot of Lexuses. He's a little wide there at the Degner curves, but very unique soundtrack from that 5-liter V8.
Yeah, it's a car that we don't normally see too often, especially stateside here in GT3 racing, but a good addition there. Always one of my favorites to see running, and a good livery on that car as well. It's currently sat in 11th place overall. We'll have to see if they're going to be able to push their way forward here a little bit. Turtan let's call it about a second off of W in front of him, so he's going to have a little bit more to try to gain in on him, but I think it's certainly attainable here in these final 9 minutes.
Has a little bit of work to do. Another driver that is that was new this week. I don't know if they're there. Marion Coman was listed as pitting in, but can't seem to find them on the timing screen now. Matt Gefeller's back in the Bentley. Always good to see this ground-pounding green Bentley, and I miss it already after running in GT America, powered by AWS in 2021. Of course, that was with the Flying Lizard Camp, but that was driven by Memo Gidley that year. They got their first win at Sebring. But Matt Gefeller keeping it alive here in Assetto Corsa Competizione, running 14th, just ahead of Christian Cords Anderson. Another Acura NSX GT3, the number 42. And Julius Tand, and then another Aston Martin. Good car diversity here today. There's quite a few manufacturers here. We have a Ferrari of Kunin, which I think we were missing at least one of the manufacturers last time out. The one I don't see, oh no, there is a Porsche here. That's JW.
Yes, there is. We really do have just about everything represented on the grid. It's like watching a real-life Fanatec GT World Challenge America race, and we're just seeing the mass amounts of diversity that we have. Obviously, Porsche announcing the new 992 variant of their GT3 car that's going to be running in the series this year. So excited to see that, as it looks very, very good. And we obviously will kick off the season here in just a couple of months' time. But in the meantime, we still have some great digital action to bring you as John W. brings his way here up through Dunlop right now, trying to see what that Porsche is going to be able to do, and he's going to hopefully try to improve here from an 11th place position.
A unique rear engine car, the only one of its kind in GT competition as it stands. Here's a car that we need to put an eyeball on, Andy Edwards, in this absolutely striking McLaren 720S GT3, and I'm very excited about this car in particular because I can't wait to drive it. I got a Fanatec McLaren GT3 rim on the way, and it's arriving on Monday, so I'm going to give it a go, and looks a whole lot like the one that's in the hands of Andy Edwards right now.
Yeah, again, one of our partners, Fanatec, absolutely incredible precision to create the car and create the wheel to mimic the car exactly, and of course, sort of their coup de grace is the BMW wheel, which famously you are able to take directly out of your sim rig and plug it into your race car. No adapter needed. You can just plug and play just like that. It really and truly does work. I have seen it in action, Kyle. It is remarkable.
You can't buy the race car on the website, though, which is a bummer. But,
no, it's a little unfortunate, but yeah.
Battery's not included. But Andy Edwards right now running 19th of 23. Actually have 24, Dante Lansnaster, who's actually stuck trackside right now. There he goes, resets. That's the number 500. Looks very similar to Vlad Dola's car, so that's the other BMW that we were looking at a little earlier in the day. Bill Strobel in the 888, another BMW. This is the CrowdStrike racing car with that familiar CrowdStrike decal on the side of the navy blue car, and runs inside the top 10, and currently 4th in the M class.
Yeah, Strobel here going to be trying to move his way forward. 10th place overall on the 888. He only has about a 10th of a second to try to make up to John W. in front of him, so not out of the question here that we could see some improvement. Obviously going to need a little bit more time to try to reach some of those other AM drivers that are just up the road, but as he comes out there off the Casio Triangle, bringing that car onto the main straightaway, doesn't look like this is going to be an improvement there for him, and time starting to wind down a little bit. 5 minutes left to go here in this session.
Josh Staffen went even faster, sub 2 minutes to 1:59.515, leaves Kunin in the dust. Kavanaugh, Arup Kumar up to 4th place in the number 8. That is another BMW. Quite a few of the Bavarian vehicles up there in the mix. 3rd, 4th, 7th, 8th, and 10th. So 5 of those cars inside the top 10, and just outside we get one of our Audis as well. I know we saw Bill Clark earlier, but Sommer in the number 11 is running an Audi machine. So is Martin Lassen in behind. And then who else have we not looked at that's running a unique car? How about some Lamborghinis? Meismer has got control of one of those today. And of course, we love the naturally aspirated V10 sound that this car makes.
Oh, it's absolutely gorgeous, sort of a primal scream that you hear as it works its way by on you. It's a great sound to be able to hear. A perfect line there for Meismer, being able to take it out of 130R. Now going to bring the car down into the Casio Triangle. Well, not exactly through the Casio Triangle. I think that was a bad lap there for Gregory, and he's going to pull that car off to the side and reset back down pit lane.
There is another McLaren on the track. That's Mads Fabricus Schmidt, who I think we've seen in SRO Esports competition before, down in 23rd at the moment. Mike Jensen running another one of the Lamborghini Huracan GT3 Evos. Spears by the camera shot. Again, just love the sounds of these cars. But the sun continues to set. Track temperature cooling a little bit. Right now it's 24 degrees Celsius on the track, 22 degrees Celsius in the air, so we can anticipate that temperature falling to near 20 by the end of the night.
Yeah, it'll certainly start to come down here a little bit, and we do have confirmation on the broadcast that we will be racing into the night here, as it is certainly going to be creeping to that time. So there they go, and that's going to be another challenge for these drivers that they're going to have to deal with, is they're going to have to kind of navigate how to brake around this track when you lose the visual of some of your braking points around the circuit.
There's Jensen heading down the hill now, and you're losing the visual. Let's talk about that for a second. This track is not lit very well when it comes to nighttime racing. It's a track that we've raced at in the nighttime in SRO Esports before, but this is certainly not one of the tracks that, when you look at others that you've seen run in international competition, Spa gets dark. This is like that. There's a couple lights around the circuit, but it's not going to be enough to keep this place lit. It's going to get dark. It's going to get hard to see. And a lot of this will be muscle memory here by the midpoint of this race, I'd imagine.
Yeah, I have to agree with you there. And it really comes down to being able to pick out your braking zones on things that your headlights are going to be able to reflect against, as you're going to be thinking about braking zones in terms of curbing. And when the curbing starts, that's when you jump on the brakes, as opposed to looking for those brake markers onto the outside. You're just going to have to change your peripherals a little bit as darkness closes in and it gets harder to see. It's not going to be that much of a challenge here for these drivers, especially if they know this track like the back of their hand. You really start to feel the braking zones rather than looking for them necessarily, but at the same time, it's just one added wrinkle here that's going to throw something into the mix.
Track conditions as well, as rubber goes down on the racetrack. This is such a line-sensitive place that if you get off the racing line and into the marbles, those shredded bits of Pirelli rubber that accumulate trackside throughout the night, you're going to end up in trouble if you get offline, especially at high speed, high downforce corners like 130R, even the Deckner curves where there's that gravel trap to catch you if you run wide. You'll get yourself in big time trouble if you end up in there.
Yeah, you'll get yourself in very, very big trouble if you find yourself off in the Deckners. That's a very, very scary area. We obviously remember many an incident there on the exit of Deckner 2 in particular that can come back to bite drivers. We watch Mike Jensen right now as he continues to work his way around. Great line there through 130R. Looks like he's got everything underneath him. Hopefully that orange and, well, let's call it gray or silver Lamborghini going to be able to improve here from 23rd position.
Jensen across the line here 43 seconds ago, so he'll get a chance to go one more lap if he chooses. Here's Zach Coonan, who's still trying to eclipse Josh Staffan's provisional pole time and keep Kavanaugh behind him, who's still on the racetrack and potentially in position to go even quicker than Coonan. I don't see any green or red on the timing and scoring for this third place BMW. Now it's up a 10th. So if he can keep this in the green, he could go faster than Coonan. He only needs 0.03 of a second quicker than his best. And right now he's 0.2 up.
Yeah, 0.2 up here through the first sector. That's good, but it continued to start slipping away a little bit. It can if you get things wrong, particularly if you get a little bit off track through the snake there, through that rising snake. You can just see time slipping away from yourself. But as we said, Kavanaugh not having that problem. He's gaining time here at this point. He's going to be coming up against, I believe that's one of the other competitors up ahead of him. He's going to have to watch out for that and watch out for that very tricky exit there at the exit of the Deckners. Almost lost the rear end of the car, and that was enough. Kavanaugh's going to call it quits.
Yep, he'll call it quits there. Zach Coonan is also coming to pit lane. Arup Kumar is still getting after it. He's up 4/10. That could be good enough to get him up into the second row. Right now he's just on the front end of row 3 in 5th place. He's heading towards 130R.
Yeah, let's see here if Kumar's going to be able to get a good lap here. Currently sat in 5th place overall, 4th in that pro category. Good line through 130R. That's going to be able to keep everything together. Now he dives onto the binders here for the Casio Triangle, trying to see what he's going to be able to get. Good clobber of the curbs there in 1 and 2. Now going to bring the car around, not coming down pit lane. So Kumar clearly thinks this is going to be a good lap. Is it going to be an improvement? He's going to cross over the line. Doesn't look like he's going to improve.
He does, to second, 2 minutes,
Oh
6:77. And Arup Kumar will be on the front row alongside Josh Staff, and that start-finish line is pretty far down the straight. And Kumar, that was a bigger than 4/10 improvement for him, and that will lock him in to the front row, assuming that nobody goes quicker, and I don't think anybody is going to. So qualifying is complete. Staffen and Kumar will share the front row.
Yes, they will, and my goodness, apologies for that. I did not anticipate that start-finish line being as far down the order as it was. I thought it was a little bit farther back on the track.
Yeah, I mean, I think you'd be forgiven. It's a long straightaway, and it's a great opportunity to draft drivers as well as they get in. But nighttime is falling here on Suzuka, or about to fall on Suzuka, and with that, it's going to bring in a little bit more dynamicism in terms of the racetrack. You're going to see all these awesome lighting fixtures around, but not a lot of light on the track. That's going to be the biggest challenge for drivers to navigate. It also, just seeing each other, brake lights and that sort of thing, it's going to be a real fun show. 40 minutes for CrowdStrike Virtual Racing League round number 3. We've got our 2 classes, our Pro and our Am categories to watch throughout the evening, and it looks like both of them are going to be a good show.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a fantastic show for these drivers. Suzuka always puts on a good race when you certainly have GT cars taking to the track. It is going to be absolutely fantastic to see them, and especially into the nighttime, it's going to make things all the prettier.
So heading back down to the racetrack here and getting set, we've got a moment to talk about the strategy for this race. And, we always talk about, shooting out of the cannon hot and going for spots early in this race, or maybe planning out how to make your passes. DJ, this is a challenging racetrack. We've talked a lot about the layout of this track, but we haven't really talked about how tricky it is to pass here. At points, because of how narrow the track is, it is really difficult to get alongside somebody and overtake, especially that whole first sector all through the S-curves there and all the way past Degner. It gets hard to pass. You get in the second half of the track and it can get a little easier, but this is not going to be a place that you can be super aggressive right out of the gate and gain 10, 15 spots. You're more likely to be over-aggressive and step out of bounds or make contact.
Yeah, you've got to be very, very careful. There's not a lot of room for runoff here. It's very, very difficult. It's very, very tricky to make sure that you keep all 4 tires on the black stuff, especially considering the pretty immense speeds that you're able to carry around here. So you've got to be careful about it. And as I mentioned earlier, picking up those off tracks coming up and through the snake, that is one area that if you mess up right at the beginning of that sequence of corners, you're going to find yourself offline and having problems all the way up the hill.
So about 1 minute and 40 seconds until we kick this session off and go around for our 1 pace lap and warm up the tires, warm up the brakes. Is one of the things I love about Assetto Corsa Competizione, DJ, is how well simulated all of the systems in the car are. You have to have your brakes up to temperature to get full braking performance, which you're going to need and want on that first lap. Same thing with the tire temperatures, these virtual Pirellis. Very sticky tires. They do take a little bit of temperature and time to get worked up into pace. So you have this entire about 3-mile pace lap to get yourself set up and get some heat in all your components.
Yeah, you're going to want to use that as much as possible because there are such high-speed corners here. There's a lot of lateral load that goes through the tires, and if you're not completely up to temperature, you're going to find yourself slipping and sliding all over the track. So watch for these drivers to do a lot of weaving on this pace lap. Watch for them to be doing a little accelerating and braking, trying to get as much heat into the tires and into the brakes as humanly possible.
And talk about the electronics as well. I don't think grip is going to be a huge issue tonight, as like we've seen in the past when it started to rain. Drivers will manipulate traction control. I don't think we'll see a lot of TC and ABS changes throughout this evening, so you're probably going to set it and forget it in terms of the electronics here. But that's something that you will have worked a lot on prior to this race in practice to get these cars set up to the optimal performance. The ABS and traction control in these cars is really incredible, and you can lean on it pretty heavily. Just mash that pedal to the floor and let the car do the rest of the work.
Yeah, that's what you're going to have to try to hope a little bit for. But as we've only got 5 seconds ready to go, Kyle, it is now time for these cars to get themselves moving here. We'll have a full pace lap before they bring themselves back around onto this main straightaway, and we get racing here from Suzuka.
All right, cars rolling off. While they're doing this, let's roll through the point standings as it stands. Josh Staffen in the pro category leads Bill Clark by about 37 points. Or 27 points, rather. So he has a pretty safe lead over Bill Clark, and Staffen will roll off in first, Clark in seventh. And it's Arup Kumar in third. He didn't start round number 2 of the championship, but he is back with a vengeance and right up in the mix here at the start of this one. Christopher Weil, who's I don't think is here tonight. Matt Gefeller is 5th. He is in the field. He will start down the field in 15th place. In the AM category, Vlad Dola leads with 72 points over Bill Strobel. And where they start, it looks like Dola will roll off in 6th, and Bill Strobel down in 10th. Martin Lassen and Alexander Turtan 8 points apart, 3rd, 4th, and Nicholas Sommer in 5th. That is your AM standings as we now see the drivers weaving, get some temperature in. Especially difficult considering the time of day here, DJ. There's not a lot of track temperature to start with. A little bit warmer than it was in qualifying, 25 degrees Celsius, but you're going to need to work a little extra harder to get the temperature in the Pirellis.
Yeah, you're going to have to really, really try to do as much as you can here, and that's why I think especially you're going to see a lot of doing exactly what we see Kumar doing behind Josh Staffen, speeding up, slowing down, speeding up, slowing down. Weaving like this is going to help you get a little bit of heat into the tires, but the primary thing to do that is actually scrubbing the tires and getting rid of any of debris or discarded rubber on the surface of the tires. The main way you're going to heat those tires up is by accelerating and braking. That's going to get a lot of heat into those tires, and crucially those brakes as well.
Inside the top 5, there are 4 different manufacturers. We've got Acura, BMW, Ferrari, and Aston Martin. And in the top 10, you can add 2 more to that list. That's Audi and Porsche with Bill Clark and John W. So that is 6 different manufacturers in the top 10, but lots of BMWs interspliced. Every other car on down to 10th is a BMW. And then you've got outside of the top 10, you've got some more Astons, a Lexus, a Bentley, and then down towards the tail of the field, the Lamborghini, which doesn't seem to be the car of choice for this particular round. But again, the balance of performance, getting all the cars within a very similar performance window, and drivers typically just pick which one they feel like they are the most competent in.
Yeah, exactly. You're going to find these cars that all are going to be relatively within the same amount of performance here, and it's just a matter of that feel, as you said, how the car feels underneath you, whether there's a little bit more understeer, whether there's a little bit more oversteer, how you like to feel the car responding to you. That's going to determine which car you choose.
And you have the benefit of being able to pick any car at any time. Every round, in theory, you wouldn't necessarily earn any points, but in the real world, don't necessarily have that flexibility to pick the horse for the course, as they say. So drivers getting set to go racing here. They're heading down towards 130R, and Josh Staffen looks pretty content with the temperature he's built up. Some others, Zach Coonan, Vlad Dola, and more still weaving around. And I'm really excited to see Coonan. I think he was in the mix in one of our previous races and was out pretty early. That was back at round number 1. He finished 6th in that race, but if I recall, he either had a penalty or off on the opening lap that put him down the order. He never really got a fair shot to fight, so he'll start right behind pole sitter Josh Staffen here in a moment.
Yeah, and there we have a couple of cars off in the background, I think just trying to get themselves under control, but that looks like Mike Jensen, one of them that had a little bit of maybe an errant off, but the back of the field isn't our concern right now. It's the front with Staffen and Kumar getting ready to go racing.
Yeah, this is a long front straightaway, so they're going to spend a long time here at pace speed before we turn them loose. They're not going to be carrying full speed into the first corners here, which means you can drive in so much harder than you did on your qualifying lap. So if you're caught sleeping here and braking at your same braking marker, you're going to get past. You'd have to drive in here so hard, lean on the downforce of these cars, and hope that your tires are fully up to temperature. CrowdStrike Racing League race number 3 of the season is about to be underway from Suzuka Circuit in Suzuka, Japan. Green flag flies and we're racing in the CrowdStrike Virtual Racing League. Staffen launches away towards turn number 1, 2 and 3 wide behind him into the first corner.
Everybody's going to have to funnel themselves down here into what will be probably one abreast as they work their way up the snake, but everybody through the first corner nice and cleanly. Looked like Rasmus Larsen able to get ahead there, putting off a little bit of an assault from a few of the drivers around him. We've got a lot of shuffling around into the field here as everybody tries to find their way in order through this snake.
On board with Christian Cords Anderson, watching this battle with Martin, that's the 204 car battling ahead. That's Acton and the 111 of Lassen that are side by side in a sweep there. They almost made contact as they head up towards now Degner Curve.
Yeah, and they're able to get their way up through Dunlop, and we get the times resetting here as they cross over the first timing loop. Let's see if anybody has a little bit of a look into the first Degner. No, everybody's going to keep it relatively together. A couple of cars a little bit wide there. I saw one of the Audis getting a little bit off. We've got one of those cars now off and into the gravel. Going to be able to regain that back up underneath them, but they're going to lose some time.
That was Cords Anderson that went a little wide. And just behind him, I think that is the 24, Alex Aso in the Audi, the orange car. No, that Alex has actually gone through, so a couple passes back here as we jump back up towards the front. Josh Staffen leads the way, the Motul car. Roop Kumar just behind Zach Coonan. 1, 2, 3, all the same as they started. But behind them, Vlad Dola is closing in on Kavanaugh here for third.
Yeah, he certainly is, and it looks like he got a pretty good run there coming out of Spoon, so that should set him up for maybe a good attack here. But I've got to say, Kavanaugh maybe having a little bit of a look on Coonan as well. We've got plenty of very, very close racing as they now work their way through 130R. You've got to be able to be careful there because there is the arrow wash coming into play.
And the track limits can get you here as well. You don't want to get yourself a penalty by extending the vehicle beyond the white lines and the curbing around here. They're pretty lenient in places, but 130R is a place that if you consistently run wide, you are going to get yourself into trouble with the virtual stewards here at Suzuka Circuit. Coonan is going to go defensive down the front straightaway. Kavanaugh and Dola in behind the BMWs powering into turn 1.
Yeah, using that grunt there from the BMW engine to try to see what they're able to do, but Staffen starting to pull away at the front of the field. This is really the battle with Coonan, Kavanaugh, and Dola. There's a little bit of a look for Kavanaugh trying to go to the inside.
He spins! Coonan around, he's going to spin and crash. Oh, man.
And I'm not sure if that was precipitated by contact. No, I think that was him just getting wide and getting out by himself there. That's what sent Coonan around.
Yeah, just all on his own. The car was just not handling quite the way he needed it. Too rear tail happy there. It's going to drop him down the order significantly down towards the bottom of the top 15. Looks like he'll end up about 14th place, maybe even further, 15th actually. So that is oh, he crashes again. He's off again, just like Brands Hatch. The opening laps, a struggle for Coonan.
Yeah, just not really finding the rhythm here at Suzuka, and that is such a crucial thing to do. You've got to be able to find that rhythm. You've got to find the good flow around here because this is a track where one corner just leads into the other, and if you lose a little bit of that, you can find yourself really, really hurting just as Zach Coonan is here.
Here's a guy that's trying to find some rhythm. Nicholas Sommer, there's a couple cars battling door-to-door ahead of them. He's right behind John W. This is all inside the top 10. And I think that was Strobel in the 888 that went around for a bit of a ride in Spoon Curve there. That's that dark blue car. Falls in line.
Yeah, he's going to fall in line here at this point. Everybody in pretty much single file order as they work their way through 130R. The 888 there of Strobel taking a big helping of the curb onto the entrance of the corner.
Oh,
now,
man. Look at Dola. He just chucked it down the inside to try to get past Strobel. Didn't work. Remember, they're battling for a championship, so Dola's got some extra incentive to dive on through, but he was late on the brakes. I'm shocked they didn't come together.
I'm very shocked they didn't come together, and I'm even more shocked that Vlad was able to get that car stopped in time. I thought with as late as he came in on the brakes that he was going to be flying on through the Casio Triangle outright, but keeps everything together and back up underneath him. He'll keep going on, and he'll have another little bit of a look. A little bit of an offline there for Bill Strobel, but he's going to make it work on the longer way around, just keeping up that momentum, and now we work our way back through the snake once again.
I always find this section of racetrack so delicate. If you get yourself offline, it costs you so much time later in the lap. You have to be very precise here and be very patient on throttle. sometimes it helps to be a little stabby with the throttle just to help the car rotate. If you're a little too smooth, it can induce some understeer and cause you to slow down a little bit. I think we saw that there with Vlad as we look just up ahead as Strobel tries to chase down Larson and Clark.
Yeah, now the battle's going to be on here as Bill has gone from the attacker to the attackee. As here, he's got a little bit of an opportunity, a wobble up in front of him from Clark. That's going to be one position. Can he go for two, going down into the hairpin? As Larson's going to fight back there a little bit. Contact.
And Dola wants in the mix now. 4 cars fighting for 5th place. Here comes Strobel now with a big run on the 478 of Larson.
He's going to get that big run here as they work their way up through to Spoon. And it looks like Strobel's got that move done. I'm not going to see a counterattack here from Larson. And there indeed, well, Larson's looking out of the inside of Spoon, but Strobel covers it off well, and he's now going to have the position as they exit down the corner and run down the hill.
Bill Clark trying to run away, sees these 3 BMWs fighting in the mirror, trying to take the Audi and scram before they close in on him again. I think they're a little quicker at the moment, and ahead of Clark, it's a couple seconds until you find Kavanaugh in 4th place overall right now. It's 3 pro cars leading Kavanaugh in the AM category as your leader, then Bill Clark in pro, then another group of AMs fiercely fighting inside the top 10.
Yeah, very fiercely fighting here within the top 10 is there. And that's Rasmus Larson taking a little bit of a narrower line through the Casio Triangle, actually coming up and over onto the grass a little bit. Is now it looks like that Dola is going to be the one on the attack. He's going to look around the outside. Remember, I said the outside's the way to attack here around the first corner of Suzuka, and I think that's exactly what he's got in mind. Let's see if he can pull it off.
Oh, big dive by Larson. He just had carried so much speed there and was stuck to the road. Didn't look like Dola offline had the grip. I agree. I like being on the outside there because you can roll so much speed. The challenge there is if the track is rubbered in and you step off into the marbles, it is such a high speed, high commitment corner to be in the wrong racing line. So I'd say Dola did a pretty good job recovering from that. It could have been a lot worse. Could have gone wide and gotten himself a track limits penalty as well, but these two are certainly not done fighting yet.
No, I don't think they are at all, as this is going to be a very, very tough run here. We're going to take a look a little farther back down in the field. This is Matt Gefeller for the number 19 machine in, I believe, the lone Bentley in the field, trying to hold off an attack here from Zach Coonan.
Yeah, he's just trying to recover his night. It's a 6th at the first round of the season. Did not start the previous round, and a little bit rusty on the opening moments here for Coonan. And I'm sure, as we all know, DJ, the sim racer mindset, once you make one mistake, they tend to kind of compound themselves into more. So you have to take a breath, and you mentioned get into that rhythm. Coonan is trying to do that right now. Made up a few spots. Gefeller runs wide. He might go for another one here.
Yeah, I think he's going to try to have another little bit of a look here as they try to continue to work their way around. Let's see what he's able to do, though, is Zach Coonan. He's just testing the waters here at this point. He doesn't want to get too aggressive too early, doesn't want to throw anything in, but wants to see what he can do. Zach Coonan now is going to be in the catbird seat as they run down the hill into 130R. He's got a great run out of Spoon.
And speaking of strengths of individual cars, I think I'd personally rather be in the Ferrari at this particular track. A little bit lighter, a little bit nimbler than the Bentley, which tends to be very good at those point and shoot tracks. Think Road America, think Indianapolis Road Course. But wow, big slide for Coonan there at 130R. That thing is definitely on the loose knife's edge of control, and it's fast. He just needs to be able to keep it straight.
Yeah, exactly. And there he's got the move with a little bit of an over-under coming through the Casio Triangle. Makes it work beautifully. And Zach Coonan able to regain a place over Gefeller there. We check back in on the battle, though, because Vlad Dola has been able to get around Larson here at this point up into P7 overall.
Yeah, they've made the swap the last half lap or so, I'm not sure that Vlad is able to run away yet, though. Larson is still hot on his heels there. These two BMWs, very similar equipment, identical in terms of the bodywork and chassis, but maybe not in the setup area. That's where you can make some gains with some slight changes for driver comfort, but Larson is still hounding the back of Dola, who's in a championship fight in the AM category. Larson is new, so if I'm Dola, I don't really want to play around too much with this. I want to stay focused on the big picture here this season.
Yeah, I've got to agree with you there with that. I think he wants to just try to pull ahead as much as humanly possible and not have to worry about anything behind him. But Rasmus Larson not making that easy for him at this point. He is keeping up near constant pressure to the back of that number 5 BMW and making him work for every inch of track.
out front, not missing anything there. Josh Staffen has established a 7-second lead over Arup Kumar. And Staffen, again, this season has been pretty much flawless. 2 wins so far in as many races, and has a pretty great points lead over the next driver. So he's just kind of on autopilot right now. Arup Kumar has also separated himself in 2nd place at the very least. Aaron Puckett runs in 3rd in that nice-looking Aston Martin Vantage AMR, and right behind, you see how loose Kavanaugh was at the exit of 130R. Let's have another look at that.
Things got very, very squirrely there. Let's take a look at this replay coming out. Whoa! Coming up onto the AstroTurf and barely able to save it.
Yeah, that was pretty nerve-wracking even to watch in the replay there, but he's got speed and it looks a lot like Kunin, where that car is just kind of on a knife's edge. But what doesn't help is at the exit of 130R, you've got that red and white ripple curbing, and then just beyond it is AstroTurf. And when you hit that turf, if the car's loaded up on that right side, the grip reduces just on that side of the car and sends you into a spin.
Yeah, it certainly does, and so that's what you've got to watch out for. Make sure you don't have any of that coming back to bite you. As we watch here, Daniel Kavanaugh kind of running in a little bit of an island unto himself right now. He's got Puckett about 1.9 seconds up the road. Bill Clark's about 3 seconds behind him, so Kavanaugh's on a little bit of a Sunday drive here at this point.
Yeah, just kind of in his own land, just clicking off laps. We've got about 8 minutes until halfway. This race is flying by, but no challenges up front. At the tail half of the top 10, that's where things get a little bit more interesting. Here's Alexander Turtan in the number 88 Lexus. Right behind him is that 111 of Martin Lassen. Lexus versus Audi. The 2 luxury brands having a bit of a scrap here.
Yeah, having a good little battle right here. Turtan just trying to hold off. Oh, it looks like there the Lawson just had a little bit of a problem. I think maybe got a little bit of wheel spin or maybe just caught the things wrong coming out of Degner 2, and that's going to cost him some time. And he's got to be careful because Ogden and Larson are now back into this fight as well, and they can close in pretty easily.
Yeah, they're right in the mix here. There's Ogden in the 204. Sister car to Puckett in the 31, and then Rasmus Larson, who we've documented his battles most of the evening, had some good ones. Look at the run he builds here. Bruce Spoon curve and now sets up for 130R. Look at the run he gets on the 204. It should be easy work here to the inside.
Yeah, should be able to get that run pretty easily there as he tries to be able to get his way down. But I'll tell you what, that Aston Martin is not giving it up here at this point. Going to look down to the inside. He's got it. Larson able to make that move there and hold on to that position.
Well, he slides and he's out of control into the gravel and contact with the tire wall, and just like that loses the spot again and might have also picked up some bodywork damage. But that's just so hard, DJ. That exit of 130R, it will get you every time.
Yeah, it certainly will. You carry just a hair too much speed coming through that section, and it will come back to bite you. And that's exactly what we saw there. But we look at the other Larson right now. Martin Larson, whoa, that got a little bit hairy with Turtan.
These two have traded spots in the last couple of corners, and Turtan is not thrilled about it. Going to tack up that Lexus RCF and go back after Lawson's number 111 Audi. Mid-engine, a little bit better balance perhaps in this Audi, but Lawson up the inside of the front engine Lexus. It has the torque to compete with that V10 in the Audi.
Yes, it certainly does. And let's see how it's going to play itself out. Here is Turtan just trying to be able to get that. He's going to have a little bit of aero wash here as the snake works its way up the hill. It's going to be a little bit of dirty air that he's going to be catching right now, but he's able to maintain it well. The gap holding true under a second here at this point. Little bit squirrely there over the curbs, but good run there through Degner too. He's able to close down just a little bit.
Yeah, slid the rear tires just a touch on exit. Might need to dial in that traction control just a bit better. Gains on the entry to the corner. Mid-corner, though, struggles with rotation. And then kind of powers a little bit too much on exit. There's Zach Kuhn in the background, by the way. That orange and black Ferrari still on a recovery drive up to 13th place. He was as high as 3rd at the start of this before lap 2 fell down quite a ways, up down to about 15th spot.
Yeah, certainly fell his way back down through the field. Here's Zach Kuhn that we continue to watch right now, the number 36. You can see a little bit of scruffiness on the front of that car. Not exactly what he wanted today, but he's coming in close here to the back of that battle between Ogden and Larson. And I think for him, that's going to be good news to be able to try to close in there a little bit. He'll be able to bolt his way forward. And if they continue to battle, if they continue to fight up in front of him, that means, oh no, He loses it coming through 130R.
Oh, that's a big time crash for Kunin. That might be it for the car for the evening. And here's what happened. Just turned in a little bit too late, got the rear end sideways and pow into the wall. And that might destroy that number 36 car. And it just was not happy. You can see still, DJ, the rear grip is just not there in the Ferrari at this one.
No, it certainly wasn't. Just did not want to do it in Kunin. I think doing the smart thing here, he's going to come down into pit lane at this point because that car is pretty much toast. But we take a look further up in the field. Arup Kumar still holding off the battle here from Puckett, who tries to close in behind him. Aaron Puckett doing a good job in that Aston Martin to keep the pressure on the number 8.
Last time by, Puckett ran his best lap of the race, so 201.122. to Kumar's 202.167, so Puckett a little bit quicker, and now definitely in the draft range. This is not a draft-heavy racetrack, like maybe Sebring would be here in the U.S., maybe Watkins Glen, Road America. This is more like a VIR where, most of the lap is not drafty, and then you get one section, and that's this next straightaway that you really can use the draft. The problem is it's got an evil little kink, 130R right in the middle of it.
Yeah, it certainly does, and that really can pick you up and throw you out and spit you out as you run, so it's not exactly the easiest way to be able to get around it. Aaron Puckett here doing a good job to keep up the pressure behind. He's going to have to see what he can do, though, at this point, because one of the things you have to keep in mind when you're running behind another car coming through 130R, we talked about the aero wash coming up through the snake. Well, just imagine what that's like coming through 130R. That was definitely a little bit of a course cut.
I was going to say that was a really aggressive turn-in for Puckett, but thankfully here in ACC and iRacing, that'd definitely be a big hit for you there, but I think he got away with it that time. A little bit more realistic track limits here in ACC, I feel, DJ, where you get an opportunity, a couple mulligans before they start to count against you, and there's contact for a second, and Kumar slides out of the way, and Puckett goes through.
Oh, a little bit of a tough run there. Let's take a look at the replay. Banging a little bit of doors. I think he just thought he was clear and turned it down on the Aston Martin, and that was enough to be able to induce that contact and send him spinning around. Yeah, just an optimistic move on Puckett's side. Maybe a little bit too aggressive turn in for Kumar that had that Aston just to his quarter panel, but yeah, I'm not sure. I know that they're probably not going to agree on it, DJ. That's for sure. Yeah, they're probably going to have differing views of that, I could almost guarantee you, but nevertheless, it's going to come back out here, and Arup Kumar still got a chance to be able to try to fight his way back forward. He's not too far off of it, but look at what this has done. What that contact is now done is it's allowed for Daniel Kavanaugh to be able to close into this battle, and he only finds himself about 1.5 seconds behind these two. Yeah, he's definitely going a little quicker, was a tenth faster than Kumar even last lap, so if they continue to kind of scrap and fight each other, that could bring Kavanaugh right back into the mix there. And not too far back. I mean, it's a couple seconds worth, but Bill Clark is still in the mix. So if these three start to come together, you could have some more action on the way here before the end of this race. 22 minutes remaining, so we're almost to halfway. And Josh Staffen continues to lead and looking just very well dialed out front right now. Yeah, I mean, it's been the story of the whole season, really, at this point. Josh Staffen just doing Josh Staffen things, very, very calm and in control of this race. He's got a 14-second gap over Puckett right now, and that is, well, it's pretty substantial, let's be very honest here. It is substantial, and I just don't think it's going to get any smaller. He's running 0.6 of a second faster every single lap. Let's see what Puckett can do on his own this time through a 2:01.4. That might have been the previous lap. That was a 2:03.0, so that was because of their incident the last time around. It will cost him some time. In the background, there's Bill Clark and Bill Strobel, both in the fight in their respective championships. Clark in the Pro category championship hunt, and Strobel in the AM category championship hunt. And Vlad Dola, not a bad night, but not a particularly great one either. And coming in as the points leader, he doesn't want to give up any ground to his competitors. And Strobel right now is outperforming Vlad. Yeah, Strobel's doing a great job just being able to keep himself ahead here at this point. We follow Vlad right now, who's got about 8 seconds to try to close into Bill Strobel up ahead of him. So he really and truly needs to try to be able to push as much as possible here at this point. I'm not sure exactly what he can do here. We've only got 20 minutes remaining in this race, and if he wants to go, he needs to go now. To run him down, it's easier said than done. Just drive faster, right? Yeah, exactly. Put the foot down on the right pedal a lot harder. Go fast.
All right, looking a little bit deeper in the field, here's Andy Edwards. We talked about him running the McLaren a little earlier in the evening. Well, he's got Julius Tan behind him. It is Tan in the orange Audi that we talked about a little earlier in the... Oh, no, it's Tan's in the Aston Martin. Who's in this Audi? It's Simon M. Peterson, by the way, in the Audi. We didn't get a chance to really talk about Simon a whole lot, but he's watching these two scrap ahead of him, Julius and Andy.
Yeah, he's going to be in the popcorn position here at this point to be able to watch that fight. And a little bit of a rough run there for Julius Tan coming out of Dunlop. He's going to find himself a little bit wide. Now it's going to be a matter of if Edwards is going to be able to pounce on him here at this point. We'll have to see. Differing lines there coming through the second Tegner. Let's see what they can do.
Big run up to the hairpin here. Tan deeper on the brakes, but Edwards closes in and has a much better entry to the inside in a battle for 17th, door-to-door. Two British makes going after it with a German one following in tow.
Yeah, here they come as they work their way forward, trying to see what they are able to do. 1, 2, 3. This is going to get a little bit fearsome here, I think, as we are in for a full three-car battle.
Oh, wow, look how much the Audi closed there, but he ran wide, did Simon, up onto the curbing and bottomed out the car, so he struggled just a touch. Edwards tacks it up, gets up through the gears a little bit better than Tan, but about 10 car lengths separating the two now for 17th place.
Yeah, it's not going to be a whole lot here at this point. We ride on board just behind the windshield of Andy Edwards right now as he tries to be able to load in on Julius Tan. Let's wait and see if he is going to be able to get anything a little bit farther back than I think he would like to be at this point. But whoa, look how much he's able to gain under braking.
Yeah, both Tan and Edwards kind of outbraked themselves there. I think Tan was in a little bit too hot. Edwards dove in deeper, but was able to get the car stopped. They will continue their fight down the main straightaway here at Suzuka Circuit with 18 minutes to go. Alex Aso in the 24, a couple seconds ahead. Both these drivers trying to maybe set the fuse up to go run him down, but I think Edwards wants by the purple Aston Martin first.
Yeah, I think he wants by him as well, but let's see if he's able to do it. He's going to try to push his way up ahead here a little bit more. Let's see if he's able to get anything. Andy Edwards just continuing to try to hassle, and that can be a huge thing here at Suzuka. We've talked so much about what it's like to be able to fight your way around, that it's if you can just kind of force the driver in front of you into a mistake, that can be enough to be able to drive him offline and get yourself into a good position.
That's what Larson is trying to do right now with Martin Lassen. So Lassen and Larson for 9th right now. And I'm keeping my eye on the timing screen because Roop Kumar has run down Puckett in the 31. So while Larson struggles on the curbing here through Spoon Curve, let's focus our attention up on the battle for 2nd overall. Puckett in the 31, Kumar in the 8. Aston versus BMW here again, and there's Kavanaugh right in the mix also.
Yeah, this is certainly starting to get a little bit spicy up at the front of the field here. Puckett just trying to hold on tooth and nail, but another three-car fight that has certainly developed. Puckett, Kumar, Kavanaugh, everybody doing everything that they can here at this point to try to get themselves ahead. I've got to give some credit here, though, to Aaron Puckett. He has been able to hold on to this very, very well.
Yeah, he's done a great job, and again, this is, I believe, his first round in the CrowdStrike Virtual Racing League, so immediately showing up and doing a great job running 2nd to Josh Staffen, who's tricky to catch, but nice, good, clean racing other than the one little contact they had, and you have to wonder if that's in the back of Kumar's mind. The last time that they went down into turn 1, they had a little bit of a touch. How long is the memory in Kumar's car right now?
Well, I've got to tell you that most of these drivers, they are like real racing drivers in that they remember. They remember absolutely everything, and so they are going to have to watch themselves out here, because I guarantee you that these drivers are going to be able to keep that in the back of their mind, and they're going to be pushing as much as possible.
And very briefly, jumping back to Feller and Lassen, these two were close together a moment ago, but they have sorted their differences. Alexandru Turtan, he's got Jason Octon behind him in the 204. This is the sister car to Puckett, who's run 2nd right now. This is for a top 10 position here.
Yeah, top 10 position. Let's see Octon. Oh, that's a little bit of a wide run there for Turtan up ahead of him. That's going to open up the door for Jason Octon. He's going to have to look around the outside here of the hairpin. I don't know if that's going to play out for him. He's maybe now going to have to think about a little bit of an over-under move. That's certainly what he thought about. I don't know if he's got the grip to make it work, though.
I think he had the grip. I think what the challenge was, he might have been in the wrong gear. It was so awkward there on the inside. I think he was in one gear too high. I didn't see any wheel spin. It was more of an engine bog down for Ogden, so wasn't able to complete that pass as we go back to second place because they were 2/10 apart at the previous timing loop, and now they separate back out again here at the start-finish line. But this is a volatile battle here in the final 15 minutes.
Yeah, this is certainly going to be a little bit spicy here as they continue to get themselves around. I'm not entirely sure if this is going to come to blows or not, but I think they're going to be okay about it. I think everything's going to be nice and easy.
Well, you know, I think that their intentions might be that. The challenge is Suzuka is just so hard to run side by side that even unintentionally, it's pretty easy to get into somebody at any point in the racetrack. I mean, give me a corner that's easy to pass, and I'm the Queen of England. I mean, it's not an easy place to do it. I think maybe hairpin is your best shot, or down into the Casio Triangle. Everywhere else, you're side by side at a high downforce corner, and it just gets very, very scary on the edge of grip.
Yeah, it very much does, and that's one of the things about Suzuka. You mentioned it at the top. It is so very narrow around here that it's very difficult to be able to get that pass done and be able to get anything to be able to play. So you've got to be very, very careful here and be able to make sure that if you're going to make a move, it's going to be a high percentage move.
What does that mean? That means that basically the percentage of you completing it successfully is high, and that's something that you can kind of guesstimate as a racing driver, even in the simulated context. You'll have a general idea of what moves work and what moves don't, and sometimes when you're really desperate, you'll take a chance that you might not otherwise take because the chance that it goes wrong is higher than if it goes right. But we'll see what happens here as the laps click down. Again, Kumar, he's got stuff to fight for. Let me remind you that in the championship, in the pro category, he's third. Now, he's way down the points from Clark and Staffen, but he's not going to gain points by not being aggressive. You got to get on top, especially with him not starting the second round. He's already down a round from everybody else, and he's going to fight for every scrap.
Yeah, he's got to fight for absolutely everything that he can find here, so he's got to be trying to push his way ahead as much as possible. But let's see what they're able to do here at this point. That's going to be my big question as we now close in on the final 13 minutes of this race. Do we see caution get thrown out the window from these drivers? Do they start to push like the Dickens, or do we see a little bit of a different running? Maybe these drivers able to just kind of keep themselves together and apply that steady pressure that we talked about earlier, and instead let the other drivers make a mistake in front of them.
Whoa, big slide there for Gregory Meismer. I was just going to note that, remember the two Lamborghinis that started this race, how they both started in the back 5 positions? Well, Meismer's up to 13th place, does have some pressure from Christian Cords-Anderson, who's going to go side by side down towards 130R. Let's see how this works out.
Let's see, this has disaster written all over it in a couple of different languages, and indeed, there goes Meismer going a little bit wide, but he's able to hold on to it. My goodness, that was close.
Drivers just daring each other. Yeah, no, you go first. And then they race them off into the corner. It's always fun because 130R is one of those places that you think you can go through there side by side, and you think that if you give the guy just a little extra space, but you end up getting there, and as you turn in, you go, uh-oh, there's no way that this is going to work. But they managed to not crash that time around. We jump back to that battle for second. That is kind of, I wouldn't say fizzled, but the embers are just barely glowing at this stage with 12 minutes to go.
Yeah, I would say we're just kind of simmering here at this point, Kyle. It's not into a full-on fire yet, but it certainly has the potential. If somebody were to just put a little bit more air onto these embers, this thing could erupt into a full-blown fire.
Feller chasing down Jason Ogden. Whoop, slip and slide there. They've traded spots, so Ogden moved up a position. But Gefeller, last time by, was 3/10 faster than the 204 Aston ahead of him. So I'm not totally convinced they've gotten these positions sorted until the end of the race. This Bentley is unique in that it's the only GT3 car, at least currently running, that has right-hand driver position.
Yeah, one of the few that did it, and it is a little bit of a strange feeling when you jump into the car. It's kind of hard to describe. You don't, ooh, that was a big wiggle there coming out of the spoon. But you don't recognize that something feels different until somebody points it out to you and you go, oh yeah, that's exactly what it is. It's kind of one of those weird things that's almost subliminal until somebody points it out.
And in terms of driving it, you know, obviously the car doesn't handle any different than as if the steering wheel was on the other side, but it does take a little bit of getting used to not just because the steering wheel's on the right. I mean, everyone can kind of accommodate for their driver position, but it's if you've run a whole bunch of laps in another car that was left-hand drive, and you have an idea of where your body should be positioned in relation to the lines and the curbing, and then you flip everything around and you've got 4 extra feet of car hanging off to your other side, it's really easy to drop a tire in the dirt, in the curbing, in the grass, and spin the car out on corner entry. I've seen that time and time again, at least in a sim racing context. For professional drivers, I think that's probably a little bit less of a concern. They've got the experience, but it really is challenging to make that swap. But Gefeller has always run this Bentley.
Yeah, he always has it, and really once you sort of get used to that right-hand drive, it's very hard to break away from, I have to admit, and if you like the Bentley, you'll love the Bentley, and you're going to want to stick with it, and so credit here to Gefeller for keeping on with it, but we're also going to keep our eyes focused on Aaron Puckett right now. Puckett up at the front of the field in second place, building a gap, it has to be said here, over Kumar at this point. The gap between them is now at about 1.3 seconds.
Yeah, on his own, without pressure from Kumar, last time by ran a 2:02.197, which was almost half a second quicker than Arun Kumar. So I still think that this 31 has better pace than the drivers behind. It does seem, though, that when Kumar and Kavanaugh got closer, it was distracting enough to Puckett that he lost some ground. This time through, we'll see what he can do, but I think Kumar and Kavanaugh are running out of laps, Kavanaugh especially, if they want to make a move. A 2:02.5 that time, a 2:02.7 for Kumar, so another 2/10 in Puckett's bucket.
I see what you did there with Puckett's bucket. That was a nice little alliteration. I approve of that wholesale. But here is Bill Clark, currently fourth in that pro category right now, running around in fifth place overall. He's got about 2.3 seconds to try to gain up on Kavanaugh and about 9 seconds back to Bill Strobel. So with about 9 minutes left to go, I would say that Clark's in a relatively calm position. He may want to push a little bit up to try to get up to Kavanaugh, but I don't think he's going to want to. I think holding on to a top 5 overall is going to be good here at this point.
He can see him, though. He can smell him. He's right there, just a couple seconds up the road, and Clark last time was a full second quicker than Kavanaugh, who made a mistake, a big mistake. So if Clark can get close enough to Daniel to maybe make him concerned, make him worried, get in the mind of Kavanaugh, he might have a chance to pass him on his own accord, but I don't think I would want to be pushing super hard and try to get there without a mistake from Daniel. I think you just have to pressure him just by being in the mirror.
Yeah, I think that's the way you want to do it. You don't want to necessarily be trying to force an error by aggressively driving here at this point. You just want to fill up that rear view mirror, that rear view camera. Try to make your car look as big as possible and see if that can force a mistake. And if it does, great. If not, be happy with where you are.
Well, here's the challenge with that, is that Kavanaugh's in the BMW, which in relation to all the other cars is enormous. So getting big in the mirror might be challenging for Bill Clark. I bet you could drive Bill Clark's car on the mirror of the BMW.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure you could. It's that big of a car here for them to be running around in. But as of right now, we continue to follow here as this is Kavanaugh. He's now being in a little bit of an island unto himself as well. We're seeing a lot of these battles just start to dissipate here, Kyle, in the closing stages of this race.
I think at this point, the track conditions have kind of settled. It's down 3 degrees from the start of the race. Everyone's kind of, they've had their battles, and now they're just sorting out, and they've dialed in their driving and to the point where they're not really making huge losses or gains at any particular moment. So they're just clicking away laps. Alex Aso in the 24, he's up a couple tenths on his best lap. So is Meismer, who's up to 12th in the Operation Motorsport Lamborghini. And again, I'm really impressed with Gregory today, starting towards the tail of the field in this Lamborghini Huracan and just very delicately working his way forward. Didn't make a lot of waves, didn't have any contact. Just a nice, clean race for Meismer.
Yeah, and sometimes that's exactly what you need to do. Just keep on keeping on, as it were. Don't let anything come back to bite you. Just continue to work your way around, and that can help to build confidence, not only in this round, but looking to the next round as well. If you have a good result, success will beget success, and you will just continue to rise up through the order.
Good line through 130R, got the right side tires on the curbing. He doesn't have anybody in his immediate sight to go run down, so he'll just continue to click away laps as we get closer and closer to the end of this one. John W. and Bill Strobel, I had them close on timing a moment ago, and Strobel's actually through, which means I think there was a change in position here. Let's see if we can see what happened.
All right, so this is coming up through the snake here. At this point, the number 17 just runs wide, and that's going to be the opportunity there for the AAA to be able to work their way on by. That's exactly what I was talking about, making a little bit of a mistake, and that's all you need to be able to work your way ahead.
Yeah, we haven't really talked a lot about John tonight because he's kind of been in his own world in the Porsche. Not a lot of other takers of the Porsche, which I'm surprised because I've always liked the way the 911 GT3R handles DJ. It's always just been a good handling car and pretty neutral. But John, the only one in the Porsche car tonight, but just found himself a little bit sideways. It has a very different handling characteristic to the front and mid-engine cars, and most of that is understeer on throttle, but incredible braking performance because of all that rear weight. It allows the car to just stop and have so much rear brake bias that you're not going to lock up the front or rear tires.
Yeah, it's really, really incredible on that. The other only detriment that the car does have is that the tires do tend to wear a little bit more in that car because there's so much weight over the rear wheel that they do scrub a little bit. And so when you're into a longer race, it can come back to bite you. Obviously, here in a 40-minute race, we don't have to worry about that too much. But yeah, it's as well as Porsche likes to say themselves, that legendary sort of go-kart handling and the way that it runs certainly is a thing. If you like to be able to drive a quick and nimble car, pop yourself into the Porsche. That's pretty fantastic.
I've just always loved the story of the 911 in particular, not even just the race car, but the road car. From an engineering perspective, this doesn't make any sense, putting the engine behind the rear axle. It really shouldn't, from just weight transfer and balance and all that, but Porsche has engineered this to perfection over decades and decades of competition and road car construction, and it really is. I mean, go back in any international racing championship, if you can't find Porsche winning it at some point in its history, it probably isn't an international GT racing championship. It just, across every major series, Porsche has taken this rear engine platform and made something successful with it, including the new 911 GT3R for next season. I don't think they're calling it the Evo. There's probably another name for it, but man, it's got that big, long, continuous LED strip across the rear, little extra wider fenders. It's a mean-looking machine.
Yeah, it looks absolutely incredible. So many great new GT3 cars coming into the fold next season. I am very, very excited to see them in person. And don't forget about the GT2s that are starting to come in over in Europe as well.
Yeah, the GT2s, for those that aren't familiar, we have that in the GT America powered by AWS series. The GT2 is essentially a GT3 car with more power and less aero, which means faster in a straight line, a little slower in the corners, and a little slower overall pace, but they are rowdy looking and they're a little simpler visually, which is pretty fascinating. I think Mercedes just launched theirs a few weeks ago, and they're just very awesome looking cars. One of my favorite things about the GT2s is the fact that they are so complete on the inside. Look at their roll cages. They're kind of integrated into the car now. It doesn't look like a roll cage was bolted in. It looks like it was a part of the car from the start.
Yeah, it certainly is a fantastic look. And don't forget about the Maserati GT2 that was announced not too long ago as well. That's another one, Maserati making a big return into motorsports. And we at SRO Motorsports Group are very happy to be welcoming them back into the fold. But we focus in on your leader right now, as he has been since the beginning of this race, and really as he has been since the beginning of the season. Josh Staffen for that Honda Team Motul, just absolutely dominant at the front of this field.
Yeah, he has just been on it right now, and 24 seconds clear of the next quickest driver. That's Aaron Puckett in the 31. Arup Kumar 1.4 seconds behind him. There's some lap traffic that could play into effect here in the last couple of minutes, but we're getting down to what should be 2 to 1 laps to go next time by. Well, it will be 1 lap to go next time by, which means Kumar's running out of time to get that second place, DJ, but a podium is in sight.
The podium is in sight. He's going to have to try to push his way ahead here. A little bit of lap traffic that they're going to have to deal with. That could slow down Puckett just a little bit as he caught him on the exit there of Spoon. That's not the perfect ideal time to get him, but it looks like your Kumar's probably going to get a little bit of an easier time passing by that car as he will catch him here on the run into 130R.
Was able to complete the pass before getting there, which is pretty critical. I think he gained a couple tenths of a second on Aaron Puckett, but Josh Staffen has come through the start-finish line. I think that was the final lap that he just took there, but we'll see how it cycles out here in the end. Aaron Puckett, Kumar, and more. I think in terms of the battles on track, I think a lot of them have fizzled at this stage. But in the background, I see Kavanaugh dealing with lots of traffic. And how about Bill Clark? He's actually run Kavanaugh down quite a bit.
Yeah, he certainly has. Look at that. That gap under a second here at this point. Bill may have a little bit of a run here on the white flag lap, especially as considering Kavanaugh's going to have a little bit of lap traffic to deal with. Now, that car that just went off, that was a lapped car that they went around. A little bit of a wiggle there for Bill, though. That's not going to be the one away. He wants to get that Audi up ahead.
Oh, he's got some traffic in the way between him and Kavanaugh in that blue ST Racing liveried BMW. But he did make pretty good ground. Couple seconds worth, just needed this race to be an hour instead of 40 minutes. But Josh Staffen works his way around. He has been flawless all race long, still half a lap to go. I suppose anything can happen, but as far as making safe bets, Josh Staffen winning the Pro Class was a pretty safe one.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty safe bet no matter where you go. Josh Staffen, one of the best racers in the world without question. He certainly is proving his worth here today, just absolutely driving away at the front of this field and really and truly doing a fantastic job as the clock hits 0 and Staffen really only has about 3 more corners to go before he'll take that checkered flag.
Coming up on Meismer in that Lamborghini, who's just trying to stay on the lead lap here. Checkered flag for Josh Staffen as he comes down the hill out of the Casio Triangle for the final time. 3 for 3 in the CrowdStrike Virtual Racing League. Josh Staffen gets it done here at Suzuka and wins for the 3rd time this season.
Staffen putting on a dominant performance. What else can be said? Let's check back in on this battle, though, between Puckett and Kumar. It looks like Puckett's got about 0.8 of a second in hand right now. I don't think Kumar's going to be able to challenge, but anything could happen here in the Casio Triangle.
Puckett through the final couple of corners. Kavanaugh's had an issue. He's behind Bill Clark now. There's been a pass for position for 4th, and Clark steals it away. That was a pretty critical pass in terms of staying with Kumar and others in the championship and closing in on Staffen, or at least minimizing the damages, I should say. But across the line, Clark, Kavanaugh, 4th and 5th. Vlad Dola should be your 6th place finisher here in just a moment. But Kavanaugh will win the AM category with that. Even though it was a drop in the final lap, wins the AM class in P5 overall. Vlad Dola 2nd over Strobel, so he should still extend his championship lead, but just.
Yeah, should extend that just barely as there. Vlad Dola comes across the line to finish 6th and 2nd in that AM category. Here is Rasmus Larsen, the next driver to finish in the 478, and that ST Racing liveried machine, they'll come across the line, and now we wait for Jansen Acton to come across as well.
Yeah, sister car to Puckett, who finished in 2nd, so Acton a little bit less successful debut. Puckett in the Pro category, Acton in the AM class. He will grab a top 5 in his first result. Not bad, all things considered. And then Matt Gefeller and Meismer, the last couple drivers to come across the start-finish line here and finish out. CrowdStrike Cup Virtual Racing League round number 3. There's Gefeller across the line at 11th, and Meismer will come home in 12th. A really solid result for Meismer here. Let's take a quick look here at the race results. DJ, that was a fun one. Some good battles all around, but Staffen again takes the top.
Yeah, Staffen up at the top, just absolutely dominant as you would expect him to be. A fantastic run. But we had some great battles up and down through the field. Some pretty close margins coming down there at the very, very end. It's the kind of thing that you love to see here from GT3 racing like this.
Really, really exciting all the way through. Puckett, Kumar, Clark, that was a battle for the ages there in the middle portion of the race. Kavanaugh, rather, than Clark, but it was super, super fun. Some good mid-pack battles as well, DJ. CrowdStrike Cup Virtual Racing League round 3 is complete. Round 4, that will be on January 28th at Monza. I cannot wait to head to the Temple of Speed for our 4th round of 6.
Neither can I. You want to talk about a draft fest and working that slipstream? Monza is the place to do it. It's going to be fantastic to see, and I am so very excited to make our turn over to the great Italian circuit.
That's what's coming up here in a couple of weeks' time. Of course, we've got the real SRO America season kicking off not too long from now. DJ, first up will be GT America, powered by AWS, headed down to St. Petersburg in just about 2 months' time.
Yeah, it's going to be great to see the cars back in action again. It's been a long off season. We've all been in hibernation, but soon enough it is time to warm up and start up these engines.
That's it for today. Thanks so much for watching the CrowdStrike Virtual Racing League round number 3. Josh Staffen and Kavanaugh, your winners in Pro and Am. We'll see you on January 28th for the Temple of Speed, Monza, up next.